All right. Thank you so much, Scott, for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. So we went ahead and we binged your movies. We
Nice.
watched Schlep. We watched. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the little story here in a second. But Mandao of the Dead, Mandao Returns, love them, and I've watched your YouTube videos as well. It's great.
Thank
But
you.
first, I want to say that so you were not late, but we were way early. I guess Phoenix has a different mountain time than the rest of.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I get confused with it too. I do.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess that's why I don't know who was the one that I was initially emailing with, but I think they made a point of saying Phoenix.
Okay.
So I was like, I wonder if they said Phoenix for a reason because I typed in Mountains Standard Time and it was only an hour behind us. But then I typed in Phoenix and you guys are like 2 hours behind us. So I was like, and Alma could have
I
helped
was
me
the
out.
first one. Yeah, as soon as she said Phoenix, I said they don't do daylight savings time in Arizona. I lived in Arizona a while back, and I remember that everybody would say it was a big deal. I'm like, it's not a big deal. Just subtract or add an hour.
But
It does get
so-
confusing sometimes, but yeah.
Thank you. Thank you again. So let me just pull up my notes. We have, again, thank you so much for joining us. Again, this is Scott Dunn, screenwriter, writer, director, actor of Mandao. Mandao. See, that's the thing. I keep saying Mandao for some reason, so I apologize. I don't know why when I look at Mandeo, I say Mandao, so I apologize. Correct me if you hear me do that again. Mandeo of the Dead, Mandao Returns, and Schlep Alma.
All right, I'm going to read your bio that we found on IMDb for our listeners. Scott Dunn is a Korean American filmmaker from Illinois. Throughout his childhood, he made films with his friends as a hobby. After graduating high school, he began his career acting in Chicago before moving to LA. He got his first break in a 3-episode arc in Disney XD's Kickin' It. After appearing in several short films and webisodes, Scott switched back to his filmmaking roots. He made his first feature film, Schlep. Yes, I said it right. Which won Best Comedy Dramedy at the Hollywood Boulevard Film Festival and was nominated in 5 different categories as the First Glance Film Festival.
And I love that because it says here that's actually Gina Gomez Dunn that wrote that that bio.
Yeah.
And I've read some of your interviews where you say she's like the one like you couldn't do this without her. She's like your producer. She's the one that's out there making sure everything gets done. And I just love that. And I love that in the YouTube videos that I was watching, she's also a big part of that as well.
Oh, she's 50% of this whole thing, maybe more. I don't know. I can't say it enough because she's organized and she always has good ideas and helps these projects actually get made. And I can't say it enough. She's definitely key.
That's awesome.
Yes, I saw her name listed a lot in the producer credits and creator category. So I thought that was really neat.
And many more categories as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
is that your cat?
That's my cat.
Okay. All right. So going back to you making movies when you were younger with your friends, what kind of movies did y'all make?
Oh, man. I liked horror movies back then, but I wasn't allowed to see them. So I was like trying to guess what Scream was about, and I made that with my friends.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was fun. It makes you use your imagination if you haven't seen the movie before, you know. But eventually we got into like hour-long movies just for fun. Like we didn't have YouTube back then, really. Not when I was starting to do it, and we were making hour-long movies, and they were comedies, and you know. They're sort of like the movies we make now, but not as polished or not. I wouldn't say polished. They just were. I was young.
Yeah. Do they still exist somewhere out there?
They do, but I have to find that hard drive. You know,
that would be cool to watch. Well, it's kind of like how our podcast got started. Alma and I, when we were younger, we used to record ourselves on a tape recorder,
a little boombox,
really tape recorder. And
nice.
We'd have our own radio shows, or we would watch a movie like a million times and like have it memorized practically. So we would just do back and forth dialogue. I wish those tapes existed, because I'd love to hear our little minds, redoing those movies, but
Oh,
basically
yeah.
the same thing.
It was cute. It was cute. We tried to act out the parts, and we do remember soap operas and stuff like
Oh, we
that.
did
Like
soap operas. We did
you're
all
this
of it.
character, and you're that character, and just go back and forth.
But yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I love doing that. But when I saw that you did that too, I was like, hey, we did the same thing, except now you're successful and we're just sitting here in our bedrooms asking you to tell us all about your success.
No, you guys are great. You guys are great.
Thank you.
And I love that you started that way too, because that reminds me so much of like when I was growing up. But I think a lot of people when they were younger or actually did this more than we think. Like hearing you did that, that's really great.
Okay, so let's see. What kind of acting did you do in Chicago? Because it says you started acting out of high school.
Yeah, well, in high school, it was just with my friends making movies and things like that. But when I went to Chicago, I joined some comedy training and like just different acting classes. The first thing the actors do when they're trying to learn is like they go to audition camps and stuff like that. Teach you how to like learn a script really fast and just lots of cliche actor things that you do right when you start. And yeah, that's what I did in Chicago. Chicago was more of like I was rooming with some people who were going to a film school, and I learned from them a lot of stuff without actually having to go to college. Yeah, yeah. So,
Alba, can you hear us?
Yes, I had to make sure that my cat went away, so I put myself on mute. How long were you in LA before you decided that you wanted to go back to filmmaking?
Let's see. I got there in like 2011, and by about 2015, I had done Kicking at the Disney show. I think about 2015, Gina and I, my wife, we decided it was time to go back to what I love because I wasn't having very much fun auditioning. I'm not a great auditioner. I'm really not. But that's when I got back to it, and that's when I started having fun again. I was not having a lot of fun trying to go to other people's auditions and stuff. I'm too picky. Like I want to make the movies I want to make, and no one was going to cast me in what I want to do anyway. So it was a great thing. I don't look back. I love that we made that decision to make our own stuff.
That's awesome.
Did you find any inspiration from other screenwriters and directors to just do your own movies?
Oh yeah. Well, I was watching a lot of mumblecore movies, and Mark and Jay Duplass were a big one for me. The Duplass brothers, they make all these low budget movies, and they make a bunch of them, and they take the power into their own hands, meaning they don't wait for other people to give them permission, and they don't wait for big budgets. That's a key because. If we were waiting for the right budget, that I'd still be waiting, right? Like you have to make it on very little. And so Mark and Jay Duplass and Greta Gerwig was a big one, and a lot of people.
Well, I know that initially I started following y'all on Twitter. There was a conversation about diversity in movies, diversity in horror movies and all that. And so I'm watching your movies, and it's very obvious. I don't know if it comes naturally or if it's intentional, but there's that spectrum of diversity in your movies, whether it be ethnically, gender, culturally. Is that intentional on your part, or do you just find yourself naturally in that environment of creatives who happen to be a diverse group of people?
I think it's just natural. It's natural. It's not like we have to force it, but we like it, and I think naturally attract it because that's who we're hanging out with, and
you're right.
And always want to include it, But I think it's better when it comes naturally like this, and it is important because sometimes I'm looking, I mean, you never underestimate what it's like to see someone who looks like yourself on screen and stuff like that. I just think it's important, and but yeah, it comes naturally.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, we sure notice because, like you said, it's nice to see or feel like you're being represented on the screen. But we notice that because we're not used to seeing it as much.
Right.
But you also have a lot of chemistry that is noticeable. Everyone looks so comfortable. I did read, I think, another interview where you wrote about that, how you got along, because that does even more with, let's say, less budget and really concentrates more on your writing because you all were just, it just
like friends,
flowed.
yeah,
Like,
hanging out.
Yeah.
like, mhm.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because it's true. I mean, that's the biggest thing we have with no money is chemistry, like you said, and and it's fun. You know, when you're making these movies, it can be monotonous. So you should be having fun with the people on set, and we do. Like the laughter keeps us going, and it's just fun. It's like hanging out with friends. I mean, it is hanging out with friends. We didn't know all of them at first, but we've worked on 3 movies and gotten to know each other very well, and now we are good friends.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of touched upon it a little bit, but as a Korean American, how aware were you when you started either acting or filmmaking about that lack of diversity in film? Were you aware of it? Did you not think about it, or did it affect you at all?
I was aware just as an actor because I was auditioning a lot, and I just never felt like I was right for anything. And what they would call me in for was kind of like, oh, they only see you in a certain way. Okay, as an Asian person, right? Like, okay, I get you. They have a very small idea of what that can be, and I hope that changes, because they wanted us to be happy after like Crazy Rich Asians came out, and it's like, there's one. Okay, see ya. And I was like, let's do more. But yeah, I'm definitely aware of it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because me and Alma talk about it all the time. Every time we watch a horror movie, because obviously that's our podcast, and it's just like there's a brown person, and it's like she could be like Mexican or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's a brown person. It's like, betcha she's the maid. Betcha she's gonna get killed here soon.
Maid.
Almost
we watched
always.
like 3 movies in a row. It was like 3 maids, and it was just like,
It's like,
and I did. It's like sometimes I think that I was listening to another somebody talking about how do you write for diversity, and it's like you don't necessarily have to write that the character is, let's say, some other type of race or whatever. It's just that they just have to be open to letting anyone audition for a part that they want specifically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Spot on. Yes.
But your wife is Latina. So do you find that the projects that you're both, that you're both working on, that is helping to, I don't know, speak more to that diversity? Do y'all, I know you said that you didn't start intentionally doing it with that diversity in mind, but do you find that now that you are, you're very obviously a diverse, talented couple, that you're wanting to work a little bit more to raise that awareness of diversity?
Yeah. More and more. I think it is important. You don't think maybe we didn't know how important it was at the beginning, but as the years have gone on, yeah, absolutely. I don't think any movie we make will be absent of that kind of diversity and to push for more.
Yeah.
And because, I mean, Hollywood's not the only game in town.
Yeah.
Like YouTube is. My wife and I talk about New Hollywood all the time, and we're like, what is that anyway? And I kind of realized that on YouTube, there's a whole bunch of people cropping up that are doing what they want to do and what they think is what they want to see, and that's good, because Hollywood has you'll be very disappointed if you rely on Hollywood to give you what you think is needed. You got to go and give it yourself. Exactly. So I'm thankful for YouTube, I guess.
YouTube is, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, Alma, sorry, go ahead.
But Gina and I, I mean, I'm just thankful. It's kind of an interesting union. She and I, just like, I'm half Korean and she's Latina, and it's a good mix. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Alma, you want to talk about Mandaea of the Dead, so I don't mess up I keep saying Mandao for some reason.
Yeah, I can't. It's okay. Mandao of the Dead. Would you like to say what it is in your own words, or I can read a quick little synopsis that I pulled up?
Could you read the synopsis? That's
yeah. Okay. If you could astral project back in time and stop a murder, would you do it? Slacker Jay Mandao and his sidekick Jackson are about to find out. And it premiered at the San Diego Comic-Con in 2019. When you began on this movie, did you already have an idea that this would be a series, or that you would make sequels?
No, not really. Not really, because this movie came after Gina and I did a Kickstarter for another movie that never ended up getting made, and it was a huge failure. and we were kind of licking our wounds, and we were like, no, let's make a movie. We want to make a movie. Let's make another movie. So we scrounged up like $10,000 to $13,000 and made this one. We had no idea it was going to be like a series of things, but as we were making it, it was just really, really fun. And obviously the plot you could do more. The plot does have room to do more. But as we were doing the movie, the cast and crew kept saying, I bet in the sequel we should do, whatever. And we kept imagining it. And so that kind of led to like, well, what would that be? So I wrote one, and there you go. I mean, it came from having fun.
And it just seemed to come naturally, because one of our first thoughts when we were watching it was this would make an excellent TV series.
Like many little stories.
And you could think of like 10 different scenarios to put Jay and the crew in and work on it. But the big theme of astral projection that we noticed, what started your interest? Do you have like experience with lucid dreaming? I mentioned lucid dreaming and sleep paralysis because I've experienced that so much in my life. And astral projection, it seems like they kind of go like one is born from the other. So do you have a lot of interest in that, or do you study it?
I do have a lot of interest in it. And my friends, when I was growing up, there was my friend, he said that he was able to lucid dream, and he would tell me what that was like. And I was very jealous because it sounded amazing. Like, wow, I'd love to control my dreams.
Oh, yeah.
And I've tried to astral project. I have to be honest, I haven't been very successful, but I'm super interested in it. And there's a movie called Insidious. Have you guys seen it?
Yes, it's one of my favorite. I just watched it again recently.
Yeah, it's a great one. I mean, that was the first time I really saw astral projection used the way they did it. And I was like, wow. And I think that movie specifically got me, I want to make my own, but add some comedy to it. Because I thought that movie was very, very fun. And I wanted to add some comedy to it. And But that's interesting that you lucid dream and stuff. I'd love to hear about that sometime.
Oh, I know. It's just if we talk about, we did when we were talking about Nightmare on Elm Street on one of our previous episodes.
Oh, yeah.
The thing is, our family all experiences sleep paralysis throughout our lives. I seem to go through it a lot because I have trouble sleeping. But lucid dreaming was something that I realized I could do back in my teen years that I really don't talk about a lot, but because mostly when we experienced it, we thought it was more supernatural and scary. And kind of when we interacted with other adults talking about our sleep paralysis or other things like that, they would think it was something bad. And then we didn't really want to talk about it much. But because I was a terrible insomniac, it triggered a lot of sleep paralysis episodes. But I learned to just relax in my dreams and accept it. And one of those, the out of body experiences that you have, I won't go too much into it, but that is something that I've always kind of enjoyed about the sleeping aspect, just letting yourself go with it, that feeling of being out of your body. That's where a lot of people think the whole idea, the concept of being, what's the word, abducted or something like that. But, I could go on about it. But I love that you have a lot of interest in that because that is one of the most interesting aspects to me of like the supernatural. And that's why I really enjoyed Insidious. It's one of the few movies too that I've seen that really has that idea being so well done. I love that.
Yeah, I know. I the sequels aren't as good to me, but the first one is just like, so good. So good. And thanks for sharing, by the way.
Oh, sorry. When you have the astral, I don't ever know what to call it, the astral plane or whatever in the movie. Yeah. I like that you chose, I don't know if it was intentional for budgetary reasons or if that's how you see it, but kind of like that dark room, it's black and it's you guys that are ones that are like, are most prominent in it, whereas you could have done it like a light airy room, which is probably what I used to think of what it would look like with lots of colors, but you decided to go more, like the dark, way.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. I really liked it too. And when you think of dreams, sometimes it is like things are blacked out around you, except for what you're focusing on, sort of. And when we were on set, the lighting gets you in the mood. It felt like we were really in the astral realm. Yeah. And it gets you in the mood. Yeah. It's simple too. Yeah. Very simple. as well.
It was really effective.
Okay, so
for,
in the second
like,
movie, sorry, we're just talking over each other. Go ahead.
I think there's just a little delay, but I was saying you did a lot
Yeah, go ahead.
with that budget that you had for that specifically. We really enjoyed.
Yeah.
I love the colors, the way that it looked like it flowed and everything. You could tell it was just it just looked like that was done so well that it was just it was brilliant. We thought.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so in Mandao Returns, we start off where the first one ended, and we get a little bit more information about the father character in this. Now, in the first movie, we see that Jay is holding on to some guilt from that relationship when the father passed away. Do you think in this second movie, Mandela Returns, was there a process of, do you think he was able to forgive himself in that? Were you trying to, because when I'm looking at it, I think that there was a forgiveness process, but I could be reading too much into it. So if you could explain that a little bit.
In this second one, I wanted him to come to terms with the fact that his dad's not there, and that he's, and that you can't keep looking to the past all the time. I think, in fact, I thought to myself, Jay is able to travel astral plane, like on the astral plane, he's able to travel back in time easily because he's always like living in the past. You know what I mean? And in fact, this movie is kind of about that arc where like, don't live in the past so much, kind of let's be present. And he's learning to like love and enjoy his family, his friends. And that was kind of important for me. Like as far as Jay's arc in this one was like, he has accepted this group as his friends. He's accepted that his dad's no longer there, but he can make him proud still and move and live in the present. In fact, if we do more of these, I think that's going to have an effect too. Like him living in the present might affect his ability to travel, and that could be a problem actually, and something that could be really interesting.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But no, I that when you said right now, the fact that he lives in the past so much is what helps him do that. I hadn't even thought of that. I love that so much. Now it's giving me ideas. But okay, so the nephew character, Jackson, right? Okay. I know.
We're dying to talk about this. Just dying.
It's so funny because obviously y'all make comments about like maybe he's not blood, related, but he's just always like Uncle Jay, and we think that relationship is so precious. So you don't have to tell us, if you're going to reveal it, but are you going to go more into that backstory later, or do you want to just keep it kind of like a fun little backstory that we're not really meant to know about? It's just a comedic little, addition.
It's just kind of funny, but like in the first movie, he says there's this one line where he's like, I kind of explained that my sister married his dad for a month, and so that's why it's in the first one. It's in the first one, and that's why he calls me Uncle Jay. I mean, I barely, I just thought it was funny. I don't know.
Yeah, I know it's great.
It's really funny.
Thank you.
Because there's that one part where y'all were talking about whether it runs in the family, and he gets all excited because whatever it was I don't know if it was the astral projector. He's all like gets excited like he could be able to do it, and you're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, like, Jay and Andy both make the face the characters towards Jackson, and they're like, yeah, okay, and that was it was hysterical. It was really great.
Oh, Jackson, he's so lovable,
Oh, love him.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Alba, do you want to ask these next questions? Or do you want me to do this?
Let me see. Both the Mandao movies are science fiction, comedy, horror genres. Does comedy come natural to you, or did you choose comedy as to be like the highlight of what you write and direct?
When you're working in indie film, we don't have a lot of money, right? And I just think that the audience, a special effect can be comedy too. Like special effects are like chemistry, lightness, comedy that makes people lose themselves, but not take it too seriously. Cause we don't have a Hollywood budget. So I don't want to make you try and take something seriously that's kind of, has no money, but chemistry and comedy can really elevate something that costs like very little, in my opinion.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. We do enjoy a lot of B horror too, because we do appreciate that aspect. We watched a movie called Lamageddon that had like a tiny budget, looked like just friends did it, but
Yeah.
it is true because you have to take yourself, not take yourself as seriously. If you're trying to do something
Yeah.
with the smaller, with the tighter budget, that does lighten it up a lot. It does. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just something I found because I do see a lot of people do like straight up serious movies. Sometimes and they don't add lightness into it too. So you're like, wow, this is so serious. And it's like, it has room for some comedy here.
Yeah.
And watch any Spielberg movie. It's like, it's intense and action packed sometimes, but there's comedy in it too.
Yeah.
And it keeps you engaged. So.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like real life, even when we're having shitty moments in life and all that, we like at least with Alma and I, like our coping mechanism is humor. I mean, we could be having like the worst day ever. And like even at our mother's funeral, we're just like, we'll be, it's just like we interject. You think of those fun stories. You got to, I mean, life isn't always, just black and white. But anyways, we just love that the comedy elements in your movies and everything. It's great. But you mentioned sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you mentioned the like the low budget, so you're not able to use like well, I personally like when you're doing the time traveling. It gave me the graphics that y'all used. It gave me kind of a Doctor Who vibe. I don't know if you've heard anybody say that before, but that's what I got when I'm looking. I'm like, oh, it's very Doctor Who, and it's just like, so I just wanted to share that because that's kind of like how I think. Even though Doctor Who is a very obvious popular franchise, it still has those elements of looking, and I'm not saying this in a mean way because I love Doctor Who, but a little bit low budget sometimes because when you have the different elements. So I love that that your movie kind of gave me that vibe. So anyways.
I had to check out on Doctor Who because I hear about it all the time, and I have heard a comment, I think, like that about like maybe it reminds them of that. Also Stargate. I don't know. Have you guys seen Stargate? Yeah, like that.
Yeah, that portal thing.
Yeah, the portal. that was kind of from there too. Yeah.
Okay, so Schlep. We left Schlep for last, even though it was your first movie, because I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Oh, thank you.
So I watched it. I watched it last night. So for our listeners, I'm going to read it real quick, the description, but. It is spend the weekend with Scott as he goes to the desert to reclaim his girlfriend from a misunderstanding. Along the way, he must duck and dodge her nunchuck-wielding brother, bond with his newly married best friend, and witness a meddling Reiki enthusiast attempt to wreck their marriage. Again, it's awkward. And I watch a lot of indie films because, like I think kind of like what you said with, I mean, I'm not saying that I don't love Hollywood big budget movies, but I find that you can see a lot more story sometimes and that chemistry with indie films. And this one was just, I loved it so much. It had a serious subject matter, this dude, he cheats on his girlfriend and then she finds out and all that. But you're able to put in that comedy perfectly, with the friend and then his wife. And I just really enjoyed it. When it was done, I looked over, it's like, why have I not heard of this movie before? I really loved it. It was great.
Oh, I love hearing that. Thank you. And that was such a learning experience because that was our first movie, like you said, and it took us 3 attempts to make it. And oh man, that's a whole other thing. Like, oh my gosh, I mean, that's how we learned to make movies was that one. So yeah,
it was a really pleasant surprise because I didn't look up anything before I watched it. I just like to put things on, and then if I love it, I love it. I don't like to base what other people say like on my opinion of watching something. And mostly when I watch, I try to look for the highlight, the thing that I do like about it. It was well done, but the character development, the chemistry, everybody, it was really well written. And I was just like, how haven't I come across this? And I actually watched it with my husband and he loved it. And it's really strange for him to like the movies that I watch. Sometimes he gets really tired. We watch way too much horror, true crime. And so afterward he said, wow, that was really good. And he said, it's not like the other movies you watch. And I go, oh, I forgot to tell you it wasn't like a horror movie. And he goes, well, I figured that out about an hour into the movie. He said, I kept waiting for a ghost or someone to get killed. And he said, after about an okay, they're not going to kill anybody. And it was just like, yeah, that was really good. It was just very different from the movies that I normally watch. So it was just a pleasant surprise and really enjoyed it.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow. Thanks. Thank you. Yeah.
So,
that's on my, where'd you guys watch it? YouTube or?
I think I rented it.
It was
Oh,
Amazon.
yeah? Okay.
Amazon, yes.
Yeah, Amazon. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Just wondering.
Oh, and for our listeners also, so they know where we watched them. I rented this one, but also the other movies were on Tubi.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, it is. Mandao Returns is on Tubi, and then the first movie I have on Amazon as well as my YouTube channel. So it's there too. I put the movie on YouTube for free as well.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do want to discuss, like in all three movies, there seems to be an underlying theme of, and forgive me for like maybe like putting my own life into it, but there's a little bit of we touch upon mental health a little bit. So there's like, depression, uncertainty of your future, guilt. Was that intentional, or did that just kind of evolve as you were writing the stories, that there was more going on like under the surface of these characters?
Well, usually I start with like a hook that I like, something non-emotional that I just kind of get excited about. But then later on, you have to fill in some things like from your own life to give characters something to grow from. Like you say, guilt and depression. Yeah, that's just part of me sometimes. The guilt, the depression, the like fears. I mean, I think everyone feels this, right? So,
absolutely.
But in the art world too, like we're artists, all you guys, me, everyone who's an artist, that's gonna just be part of it. Like, yeah, depression is part of it, especially during the 2020. That was tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I think this was our escape, doing our podcast together during that time. It really brought something out of me to just start. Dalia helped me so much, but just being together, meeting, we watched the movies together, doing something and just continuing, because there was just a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fears, but you can see that a lot in the movies, especially in Schlep, just kind of seeing that development through there and how he was getting through the weekend, which was also really funny.
Yeah. I mean, these movies, they you can't help it. It's part of you, like the characters you play, and the other characters are part of you too. You're writing them, and but it's cathartic. After the movie's done, it feels like you can close the chapter on that thing, whatever it was at that time. Okay. And I
was going to ask that. Yeah, I was going to ask if that helped with you personally while you were going through that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. For many reasons, not only emotional, but the way, how long it took to get that movie right and learn the things you need to make a good movie. After you come out of it, it's like, wow, we fought a war or something. I don't know. It was great. Awesome. It was great.
Well, yeah, I mean, we talk about all the time how horror is how we cope. I mean, people think of horror as like, it's just always going to be bad, but it's interesting. We're seeing a lot of conversation now going on about the psychology of horror and horror being just something that actually helps people with mental illness. And that's kind of, how me and Alma have always felt. It's just like, we have fun. We go in and it's just like, you can't always control your life, but you sit down for a moment and you get to like just let this all out during a horror movie, and then afterwards it's like it's exhilarating somehow. It's like, oh yeah, we survived that. I don't know.
Yeah. You know what? I love that you bring that up. Horror, it does represent like you guys you're watching the movie and you're seeing this danger, but you're also like rooting. I don't know. It makes you feel alive. It makes you feel very alive. Yeah.
Yeah, there's always somebody to root for, even if it's on the killer side. That guy deserves it. It's like a revenge movie, but there's a lot of diversity in the genres themselves, the different kinds, and that's why we appreciate horror comedy, because you just take yourself, you have to, what we're watching, and sometimes it's fun and it's good to have that excitement, that thrill from watching something that also makes you laugh. Do you have a favorite horror subgenre that you enjoy?
I like horror sci-fi. I like horror comedies. Yeah. I mean, I loved Shaun of the Dead, and I loved Gosh, there's so many that it's hard. It's hard to think of right now. But I love Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Oh my god,
Yes, that's one
movie.
of my favorites. That's
Yeah,
one of my
it's
favorites.
it's so
great.
well done. Yeah, yeah. But look, that's what the thing. Horror has so many great subgenres, and that's why it's like you can't just say horror. Horror is vast. It's got so
Yes.
many. That's what's so cool about it. It's really risen in the last 20 years, I guess.
Yeah,
10, 20
absolutely,
years.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, talking a little bit about comedy now, your YouTube channel, which, like I said, I've been watching the videos. I love it. So, are you putting out a video every week right now?
Yeah, every week.
Okay.
So we want to get more consistent with that. But I'm also working on a new project with some of the people from Mandea of the Dead. It's about a glitch in the Matrix. Like, have you ever heard like simulation theory and glitches in the Matrix? Yeah, I'm very fascinated by it. So I've got this, I guess you could call it series, a little series coming up that we'll be working on soon. But yeah, it's a new video every week.
Oh, that's awesome.
Skits and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, because you mentioned the Matrix, it's kind of funny. You have a funny Keanu Reeves video. It's like you actually do a really good funny Keanu Reeves, so that's funny.
Thank you.
But I found it kind of. You have a video called Japa and Latinx Couple. So you do talk about the fact that you're Japa and your wife is Latina. So I did like that. It's just like kind of like, I don't know. I just found that interesting that you do acknowledge it very outwardly.
Yeah, we're going to do it again. We have a whole line of those that we want to do because, I mean, it's just interesting our living situation, how we met and things like that. The cultures kind of coming together.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll be making more of those too. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. Yeah. So, well, we've already taken up a lot of your time. So, question, we talked a lot about doing filmmaking with low budgets and all that. Do you have any advice for people who, they don't have the connections, they don't have the money or whatever, and they want to go into filmmaking? What were some ways that you started or where you went to go look for kind of resources to get started?
Okay, let's see. Watch a bunch of indie movies. Watch the Duplass brother movies because they have the indie film mindset that you'll probably need. Watch my movie Schlep. That's a good one. Go to my YouTube channel and watch the making of Schlep. If anyone's in the audience listening who wants to make their own movie, I detail kind of how many mistakes I made, but hopefully my mistakes can help you, you know? I don't know. Watch indie movies and pick up your phone and make something because the first few movies are they might be crappy anyway. So just make it. Make it and they'll get better over time. Like, it just gets started now, I guess is what I should say. Yeah.
I love that because that's actually, I hear that a lot with just so many different things, not just, specifically filmmaking. Is like, just do it. Just do it. Just try. I heard a saying recently, what is it? It's a launch it broken, fix it live. Just start doing it. And then you'll learn to you'll fix it along the way. Yeah, I really like that because that's like my life right now. But so you already started talking about future projects. You mentioned that you're going to be doing. I take it it's going to be a web series, the Matrix one.
Yeah,
the glitch in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else that we can look forward to?
I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. What we all want to do with Mandaea. And I love that you guys brought up the series. Because that would be we think so too. We think that would be it's perfect for that. We might do something for YouTube. It's same kind of quality as the movies, but kind of more episodic. But they tell a bigger story. So it's like a movie, made for YouTube. I don't know. We'll
and you can use a lot of those small ideas, those little things that have come up along the way during the movie. Like we should do this and we should do that. That's why we thought short episodes would be just a great use of the big idea, the big picture idea that you have going on in the series. Yeah.
This is really good. We enjoyed it.
Thank you. And that excites me. It makes me want to work on it more. So and I agree with you. It has more opportunities in the short form. Yeah, very exciting.
Okay, so again, thank you so much for taking time out of your morning.
Thank
you. Really
you.
Appreciate it. And, me and Alma had been sitting here for an hour like idiots. So I'm so.
I'm sorry.
No.
We're really good company to ourselves.
I'm just laughing at myself because I can't believe it's a quick Google search. All I had to do was go into Google, and I was like, Alma, please don't get mad, but look at what time it is there right now.
I didn't even look. So that's the best part, is that I never even looked at the time. But I know you've mentioned some already going through, but do you use any social media where you put announcements as to what you're working on, or where we can follow along your projects and stuff like that?
I have. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram. On Twitter, I'm Scotty Dunnit, SCOTTYDUNNIT, and on Instagram, I'm at Scotty Dunn Did It. So
that's cool.
on Twitter, I kind of make some announcements and share my stuff. On Instagram, I actually put some of my short videos like directly on it for them to watch and just kind of discover. But go to doneitfilms.com.
Okay.
And if you're looking to find out our movies, all our information is there. You can watch all our movies, find out where to watch it. It has links, it has reviews, it has all. So Done It Films is a great place to and we'll have our merch store up soon too.
Oh, fun!
So,
we have merch.
Oh yes. So for me personally, Twitter, Instagram, and you can go to Done It Films.
Okay, awesome. And we will put, listeners, all that in our show notes. So again, thank you so much. Alma, we're going to close out real quick. Alma, where can everybody find us?
You can reach us at nightmaremoviepodcast.com. Our email is nightmaremoviepodcast@gmail.com. Instagram at nightmaremoviepodcast. And you can twat Dali over on Twitter. What's that? I never remember it.
And Nightmare on 5th. That's Nightmare on 5th. And if you want to support our podcast, head on over to buymeacoffee.com/nightmarepod, and you can support us there. Again, thank you so much, Scott Dunn.
Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
I love being on. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.